Hello, everyone, and welcome to Space Oddities. Yeah, you've got to put up with me for a while. Andy's still at work at the moment, so as soon as he gets in, he's going to come straight on. We've got several things. So, I mean, I'm joined with by Roger. How you doing, Rog?
I'm fine. Well, I am at the moment, but I don't know whether that'll last.
No, 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 no. We'll see about that. Blood may be spilt later. We will see.
Yeah.
Michael, how are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Good to be here.
Good, 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 good. How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. Bit slow.
Okay, then. Well, but there's
nothing,
the trouble being retired, isn't it? Every day's
nothing,
the same.
nothing,
And our man
nothing.
from across the pond, Lou. How are you, Lou? Nice to see
Yeah,
you.
I'm well, thanks. Safe and sound from all those disturbing European elections. So I'm doing very well, thanks.
Yeah, it's all kicking off over here, isn't it? Yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, I'll be brushing off the Kalashnikov when the Civil War starts.
yeah.
Yay, freedom! Anyway, so that's by the by. Ian
Okay,
should
moving
Ian,
on.
Ian
Moving
should
on.
Ian should recognise that freedom.
Mm.
Um, anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. I see there's quite a few in chat already. We've got Lee, Ian, Jerry, Alan, Stuart, all chatting away to each other. Um,
Yes.
Usual sort of like all the hellos at the moment. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's lovely to see you all. We've got. Well, I think basically what we'll do is I'll just do a bit of some housework at the moment. And what we will do, if you would like to buy us a coffee, then please do. All the money that we raise actually goes straight back into the show. It does actually, uh, a cost is actually involved in producing this. And it just keeps us going with late at night when we're doing our observing or whatever else we're doing, watching launches. It keeps us in cough. It keeps us awake, full of beans, but it doesn't do our hearts any good. All that caffeine. And remember, we've got our merchandise, and if you'd just like to click on the space hoodies, and they are what are they now, Michael? Sorry.
I think they're £40. The hoodies are,
Pounds, yeah.
including UK postage.
That's right. That's it. And if you ordering from abroad, just ask had 10 for £10 for
Mhm.
packaging. And of course, we've got our T-shirts. If you go to the shop, you will see all of our goodies. Here we are. If you go to that, that will show you all our goodies, all our T-shirts, even the new summer range,
Mm.
um, and all our older shirts as well, our retro shirts as we call them now. 2 years old and we retro shirts. How
Yeah.
old do we feel? So, yeah, if you'd like to just scan the QR codes, and that'll take you straight to the shop, and you'll be able to see our whole selection. So thanks for that.
Ah,
Right. Oh, we've lost Roger.
we got a question from Sandra though. Where's the mugs? Um, we're still
Oh, that's
researching.
Michael's problem.
That's me. That's me. I'm still researching that, Sandra. I'll be on to it shortly. So watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space.
uh,
As I said, I see we've lost Roger.
yeah.
So let me just get rid of this QR code that's covering.
No.
So hide. Right. So yeah. Okay then. Well, I was hoping to go to Roger to get our night in the sky, our sky at night, so to speak, and to we've got some images in the gallery which Roger's put together, but it looks like we've lost him for some unknown reason. So we'll have to come back to him there. The only thing that I think what we'll do is. Uh, Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. They're all chatting away to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael says he's on it. He's on it, Sandra.
I don't
So
know what I'm on, but I'm on it.
yeah, yeah. He's looking for the mugs, looking for the
Should
mugs.
should we go to the
Uh,
space weather report? Do you think?
yeah, what we'll do is so I think that's the best thing we can do. Oh, hang on, is this Roger coming back in now?
Could be.
We don't want to disrupt the force. That's the thing.
Uh,
Yeah, here's Roger.
Hey,
Right. Hope you got a letter from your mum while you're late.
Yeah.
Right. Can you
Oh.
hear us, George?
he's frozen.
He's frozen.
Well,
Frozen. Right. Okay. Then what we'll do is we'll go to the space weather. That's the best thing to do. Right. Okay then. Now I'll rearrange the order. So let me just get rid of this. Uh,
why have I frozen?
well, we can hear you.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Oh, I'm not having a good day today.
Right. Okay. We're going to go to the space weather anyway, Rod. So you take your time, sort yourself out, and we'll let you back in when you're ready. Okay. And so over to the space weather. Right. Here we are. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
That's space weather. Right. Okay. And then so this is the space weather review for the 4th of June to the 11th of June, basically from last Tuesday. Right. So it's been sort of like a bit of a strange week. It started off pretty dull. We had our old friends join us. Let me just move this on. We had our old friends join us from 2 weeks ago. AR 3663 and AR 3664. They were fully established onto the Earth's face of the sun's face. And we were expecting quite big things of them. Unfortunately, AR663, which was then become 3691, was a bit of a damp squid. For the sort of like 11, 12 days it was actually on the face, it did very, very little. But along came our old friend 3664, which was then redesignated 3697, and it started producing the goods almost straight away. But when we got to sort of like last Tuesday, everything had sort of died down. So let's have a look at them. So we started the week with 12 active regions on the face on the 4th. So that's on the on the left hand side here. So we started off with 12 regions, and we ended today with just 9 regions. So on the 4th, we had 224 sunspots actually on the face of the sun, and we finished with 146. It's sort of mostly stayed around the sort of like 140 to 160 mark for most of the week. And well, according to the count of what have been witnessed, we had around 113 flares all through the week. But literally, I would say 97% of them were possibly C class or M class, of the lower scale, not of the sort of like the bigger scale. So at the moment, we also have 2 coronal holes, but as you can see, they're not actually facing us. So they are directing the the heavier winds away from us. But of course, 45 will rotate towards the center, and if it grows and gets a little bit bigger, then it will be firing some enhanced winds towards us. Excuse me. So as I said, we had our old friends back, 3663 and AR 3664. They both come back, and we had big expectations from them because while they were on the far side, and as they were coming towards the near side, towards our side, we could actually see that they were actually firing off quite big time. And as I said last week, which I was unable to show you through videos, but before AR 3664 came onto the sun's face, we actually it had fired off a massive flare on the far side, which was actually caught by the solar orbiter, and it was something along the lines, if I remember rightly, it was a X12 flare. So if that had been on the sun's face, that would have given us some interesting times, to say the least. So yeah, so we've only got 2 sunspots on the face of the sun at the moment. Now remember, this is a week in 100 seconds. As I said, we had our old friends back. AR, as I said, 663 was a bit of a damp squib. Um, and this, but then again, saying that, it's his 4th time around the sun, and when it left the sun's face last time, it was beginning to weaken anyway. As I said, 664, which became 3697, then started to produce the goods. Over the week, it's been the far busiest active region, but mostly giving us, again, as I said, C and M flares, C and M class flares. But of course, when you have these flares, what they still cause us a bit of a problem, because they actually um, produce radio blackouts. But as I said, it was then it went quiet at the end of last week. It stayed quite quiet until the 8th of June. I think I've just missed it on here, but there was a big flare on from our old friend, and then as it just goes off the limb on the east, you will see there will be 2 more big flares. So if we just watch this from our old friend 3697, they're right at the very end. There's 2 big flares at the end. But the one that happened on the 8th, which was actually only an M9.8, it did cause some of us a little bit of problem. So, but nobody died. So this is the coronagraph. Now, if you watch, you will see that. Wasn't it started? Start, please start. Oh, there we go. Start. There we go. You can see there's not a lot's actually happening. There's a few. You can see some streamers coming off, few little flares going off, but most of the action you're seeing is on the far side. Until we get towards the actual end of the week, I'll just let this run through. As I said, these big flares that you're seeing kicking off at the moment are on the far side, so nothing's actually coming towards us. And then not until we get to the 8th, then you'll actually see things actually start to kick off. From our small, you can see that little bright dot down in the 4 o'clock region. That is our old friend just there. Oh, you can't see my cursor, I just realised. So yeah, that's our old friend. And like I said, on the 8th, this is a bit jumpy, but you can see there's very little going on. We got much coming towards us, and bang, there it goes. And look at all that snow. That is radiation. That is solar energetic particles hitting these sensors in the actual coronagraphs themselves. And there's a bit more news about that, which I will tell you about later. So we'll carry on, and then at the end, you will see, right up towards the end, you will see the 2 flares that happen just as AR 3697 disappears off the limb. So I don't know how far we got. Here they go. You will see them fire off. But again, they are on the far side of the actual moon. One of them was measured at 9.6, M 9.6. But it being on the far side of I said the moon, on the far side of the sun, they reckon it was a bigger X-class flare at the time, but nothing was coming towards us. So what I've got to say about so basically, AR 3697 wasn't going to leave us without saying goodbye. But what it was just about that flare that was on the 8th of June, it was is an M9.8, so it wasn't even an X-class flare. Has officially been declared to have produced the strongest proton or solar energetic particles storm since 2017. It peaked on the NOAA scale at an S3 radiation storm levels, and reduced to S2 storm level for an extended period through June the 10th. And it's these extended periods that you've got to be a little bit concerned about. But as we said, on the 10th, we had that 10th of May, we had that massive storm. We survived that. Very little in the way of damage. Just all we had was reported was some downlink problems from SpaceX. So let me just continue. Go on. Now this was that flare on the 8th of June. As you can see in the top left, you can see the flare actually going off. And it's heading mostly sort of like to the west and slightly to the south, but it is going to give us, or it did actually. I think it hit us yesterday. It did give us a little bump, but nothing like we were expecting. Again, look at all the snow in the coronagraphs. Now, apparently, in the coronagraphs, no matter what wavelength you looked at them at, you had the snow, even in the very higher energy ranges. So this was a very big flare, and as I said, this shows how much radiation it produced, and you can see it was associated with a CME, a coronal mass ejection, and that's on the right hand side. And of course, as I said, just as it went off the limb, we had two more flares. One of them I think was measured at 9.6. The other one was I think it was a 9.3 flare, but they are on the far side, and of course, because they're on the far side, there's a very good chance, because we couldn't see the actual surface of where they were actually erupting from. They were probably both in the X class, so we would have had some fun and games with those. So what else have we got? So here's the last. Now I'm going to start this one. This is 24 hours. The big flare on the 8th will happen literally straight away. If I can get this, where is it? There he is. Now you watch it. Literally, look at the 4 o'clock region. As soon as I start this, boom, bang, there it goes. So this is 24 hours. And then what you'll also see is as it disappears around the far side, you can still see it's firing off other smaller flares, which all went towards the high count. As I said, we had 113 flares altogether, and then it ends with those two big flares right at the very end. Just thought you'd like to see those. Now, all week, and we were talking about this just before we came on air, the press, ever since we had that May the 10th big storm, have gone aurora mad, and every time the sun burps, they think we're going to get massive solar storms. But even from Tuesday last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you could see in the press, solar storms on the way, we're going to get massive aurora, doing this. But even I'm not an expert, but even looking at the data, looking at the coronagraphs and things like that, we knew we were going to get something, but we were not going to get the big storms like we had before. That was until, I think it was Friday or Saturday, this happened. This is the 7th of June, and this came out of the blue. This storm here, I think it reached a KP4, which means it's sort of like a disturbance in the atmosphere, in the magnetosphere, but it did creep up quite high. But look at the time it arrived: 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 and 4 o'clock. There was no way we were going to see it, so I hope somebody somewhere in the world was able to catch some sort of aurora. Although I didn't see anything come up online. So that was very disappointing. But all week, the most we've had is yellow warnings, and we've had them all week. And even yesterday, we were supposed to get a big storm, but we were lucky if it reached the 150 mark on the activity scale on the side. So yeah, they all stayed yellow. So we weren't blessed with aurora. So Now this will remember this I told you about. This is the Bartel music sheet, and basically it's a day-to-day, virtually hour by hour um, reading of the KP index on Earth. As you can see, this is for this runs from January to today. All these dots are actually and with the lines on them are actually the wind that we've had, or the hits we've had from CMEs and all that. You can see now. Remember, I did say before, the scale at the top is 27 days, and that is one solar rotation. And this is what each of these bars represents: one solar rotation. So if you want to see the dates, they're below the line, and you can see the dates written below. So you can see we had in May, we are on the fourth line down. You can see the big black splodge, which was the big storm that virtually produced aurora all around the world. But since then, not a lot's really happened. And if you come down to the bottom line, towards the very end of it, you can see basically from you can see the fifth, so just the day before, we've had very little. You can see that one blip that we had, but since then there's been nothing that would really give aurora. These up here would probably give some sort of aurora, probably up, up right up in the Arctic. So that's I think that's basically it. I don't think there's anything else I can talk about. Oh yes, there is one more thing. And it was about, I've told you about the radiation storm. But I think there was one more thing that I needed to tell you. That's the radiation storm. Yeah, looking at this here. Well, also we've had the results in May. The actual sunspot count, and if you look, the only way is up, baby. It's climbing again. Now, does this mean we're going to have a second peak, because we've got a little peak to the left of it? We're going to have a second peak, or is that going to be part of the main peak? Because remember, it's not supposed to peak until 2025. I mean, it can peak earlier. I mean, these are supposed to be 11 years, but that's an average. They can last as few as 9, or up to um, 15 years. So it works out that it's about 11 years. But again, as you can see, I meant to show you this last week. It is peaking, and basically it's so May 24th is the highest point in the solar cycle 25. The month of May, after producing multiple X flares and the largest X flare of the solar 25 so far, an X8.8. Multiple coronal mass ejections, CMEs, provoking at Earth an historical geometric storm on May the 10th, bringing auroral displays all around the world. May's results are out with 171.1 sunspot number. I don't know where you get the point one from. There you go. It peaked the highest in sunspots number in cycle 25 so far. We saw a very active month of April, but the sunspot count did not represent its fiery activity. It is not the case with May 2024, who now takes the lead and surpasses the previous peak, June 2023, who had the first place honour for almost a year with 160.5 sunspot number, now beaten by May 2024. May 2024 is the highest point seen since September 2001, who reached 238.2 sunspots in number. So will June surpass that? We'll just have to wait and see. So that's basically it for this week. So what's this space scenario? It doesn't look like what's coming off the east limb at the moment is producing much in the way of um, uh, X flares or anything. So I just thought you'd just like to hear that. So I see we've got Roger, and we've also got Andy back. Hello, Andy. How are
Good
you?
evening, everybody. Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much to those of you that have already donated super chats tonight. Very kind of you. Good to be back with you all. Sorry I'm a bit late, but pressures of work. I've been teaching a young lady who's got an exam tomorrow, so she's been doing last-minute cramming with me tonight, so to speak. So welcome back to Space Oddities, everybody. How's all the panel? Everybody okay?
Yeah, we're fine. You might have to load your IFT4 again.
Why?
It's disappeared.
Okay, not to worry.
It's been very acting up very strange. So yeah, no, I think everyone's fine. We're all here. Lovely to see you. Glad you can make it. And
Can you
basically,
hear me?
yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can.
For some
Okay.
reason, I've got a frozen picture, but I can still do my
Do you
watching
want
the
to
night
try
sky.
going out and coming back in again, Rog?
I did.
Oh,
But I'll try again
try
if you
again.
like.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to. Oh, all right. I was going to say we'll come back and he can do his night sky part. So yeah, it's. I see people actually in the chat have been talking about some recent passings, which is very very sad news. So we'll have a talk about those a little bit later on. Oh, Ian says, "Ooh, Ghost Roger." Yeah. So yeah, it's as I said, the sunspots, as we know it, are. I'll just remove that so we can all come on the. There you go. We can all see each other now. Yeah. So the sunspots are increasing again. Whether or not that will be carrying on, then it's only time will tell us. But yeah, there's a lot going on in the press at the moment. Every time the sun has a hiccup, we're going to get greater auroras. But just don't believe everything you say. Well, usually, if you follow us on Facebook, uh, if I've noticed it, I will give out warnings when we believe that we will actually get something in. Coming our way, and we may be able to.
9,
Or,
8, 7, 6.
I do beg your pardon. That was me.
I nearly took off then.
Ah,
I was ready. I was ready.
yeah, I know. I know.
It's but of course, remember, even if we do see a giant mass ejection, a CME coming towards us, and it's going to produce a lot of radiation, it's going to produce a lot of magnetism. Unless the magnetic field within the storm is aligned correctly, we could end up seeing virtually nothing. It'll just pass virtually straight over us. It'll buffer the magnetic field, give our little safety bubble a big ripple, and it'll interfere with other things. If it's a really big one, then we will see other things happening. But at the end, because one of the things about the radiation, because we were talking about the radiation storm from the what happened on the 8th, just a few days ago, it was the biggest that we've had since 2017. It doesn't mean we're all going to be irradiated. You could be stood on the top of Everest, and it won't affect you at all, because the Earth's magnetic field will protect you. But the only time you need to be concerned is if you're in space, for argument's sake, on the International Space Station. They were probably given a warning as regards this radiation storm. But also, it's people who are high altitude flying over the North Pole and South Poles. If they're too high, then of course you will get a higher dose of radiation. So what you have to do is they have to drop their altitude, so they've got more of the atmosphere above them, and that way they will stay safe. So that's why we need these warning systems. We really do. So okay. Thanks.
Okay. What do you want to talk about next, guys?
I think it's Roger's.
Yeah, I
because
mean, I've got a static camera picture, but if you can hear me, then I can do the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right,
then.
well, let's open that. There we are.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Right. Okay. So here we go for the week of the 11th to the 17th. Nearly halfway through. We're almost up to the summer solstice. So longest day and all that. So that
Yeah.
should be good. Getting back to the shorter days and darker skies again.
Indeed.
So obviously we've got the moon growing up to for first quarter later in the week, and growing onwards for another full moon during next week. Here we are for the moon from yesterday, and also the slightly lesser spotted sun as of yesterday. Now with all the activity now gone round to the western side of the sun, so boo-hoo, but there is something coming around from the back, but we'll see what happens in the next few days. Oh, what's going on?
Oh, sorry.
That wasn't me.
There we are. Okay. Oh, I don't know where that went. Who's destroyed Roger's presentation? Oh yeah, let's put it back. Okay, got it.
Right. So I've just put this from Twitter/X of the flare, and this is a picture that I took yesterday afternoon, although it was about 5 hours after the peak of the development from that flare. But I did catch the last remnants from that little bit of a loop. Well, little loop in relative terms to the sun, but not to us. But there was something there, so that was good. And obviously now we're into June. We've got the dominating summer triangle of Vega, Deneb, and Altair now coming through to the southern horizon, with the galaxy constellations of Leo and Virgo setting over towards the west now. But we've also got, as we've got showing here at midnight, the galactic core coming up through for some interesting Milky Way shots. And we can start to see Scorpius coming through and Sagittarius as well, with lots of interesting astrophotography targets in the southern horizon. So we've still got most of the planets coming up before sunrise through this week. We've still got Saturn, Mars, Uranus, Jupiter, and Neptune. Venus is already after the sun, and as we'll see through the week, Mercury will be joining the evening skies later on in the next few weeks. So all well and good there. So okay. Comet Obers is still of interest, although it is in an awkward position due to its position with the setting of the sun, but still proving getting brighter, very slowly though. But Comet Sunnershan Atlas, which will allegedly be up to about magnitude 0.5 in the latter parts of September. It's come out of Virgo and now heading over out of there. So it's still fairly faint, but the tail is developing still nicely. So all great things, hopefully, once it gets somewhere nearer through the solar system. So we do have some gallery entries today. I'll put a few in. In view of what Lee does with his Milky Way shots, I thought I'd have a go. And this was in Avebury. Now the lighting on the stones in the field was from the Red Lion pub, which looks as if it's on all the time, and it's like a blooming floodlight coming across the fields there. But it illuminate the stones quite nicely.
That's lovely.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
What
Yes.
lens was that, Roger?
Pardon?
What lens was that?
Well, this was done using the camera in a portrait mode. So this was
Right.
stitched together 5 photographs.
Oh,
with
right.
camera in a vertical position.
I got you.
And
I
as
think-
the night progressed, it gradually got more and more misty across the grounds there. So I'm sure by the morning it would have been very atmospheric, but I wasn't prepared to stay there that long because it was getting blooming cold.
Oh, right.
But
That's lovely, though.
yeah, it was very good. I thought I'd give it a try rather than going to Stonehenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spent many an hour in that Red Lion.
You might not have been let in at Stonehenge.
And well, I thought, as I did quite a good job there, I thought I'd go down to Abbotsbury, down on the Dorset coast.
Oh, nice.
And not too many miles away, the light pollution that's in the background there is Weymouth.
Nice.
But I've been here a few years ago and thought I'd give it another go. Obviously, with the lack of astronomical darkness, there's still not quite as clearly defined Milky Way as it should be.
I love that. I
regardless
mean,
of
I think the lights add to it.
I mean, the light pollution does help on the background there, but if there was more astronomical darkness, that would have been a bit more well defined. But I'll give it another go in another month or so.
You could say it's a pictorial landscape picture rather than an astronomical picture.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to Mr. Arty Farty there.
Yeah. It's just, that was waffly. Just call it a nightscape.
Yeah.
Have
you been associating with any men wearing berets recently, Roger? Michael?
Me.
Anyway, let's move on. And last night I did some rather nice close-ups of the moon. So this was one of the detailed pictures there.
What is that big crack?
Pardon?
In the,
Crack?
in the crater.
That's a collapsed lava tube.
Is it really?
Yes.
What crater is that?
Not
sure.
Not sure which. Well, the top one is Lagranus, and the Furnurius is the one down below, which is sort of the darkened crater down below. So the one above it, I'm not quite sure. I ought to know what that one is.
I take it that sorry.
That's remarkably clear. If that's a collapsed lava tube, I mean, the definition is incredible, Roger.
Well, that's what I'm led to believe it is.
Yeah.
That is Petavius, that crater.
Yeah,
Because quite a good central structure. Yeah.
I think Lagrangius is Mr. Lagrange, isn't it?
Must be, surely. Oh, Kev says, thank you, Kev. That's crater Petavius.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we are. Thank you, Kev.
Anyway, there we go.
Us
Selena files.
And Gazacroy
and
says...
talking about Kevin, here's one of his 2 entries, both of which are solar images. Here's one that
That is amazing.
Yeah, look at that.
This was taken on the 6th of June, so before it all started to kick off for the other one. Yeah,
you can see the filaments and everything on the arches, and you can see all the magnetic. Yeah, like you say, it's sort of like a magnet with iron filings around it with some big filaments.
You can see all the activities. They're lovely, isn't it?
So this was before the big 8th of June flare.
Yeah.
The sun looks furry.
And there's another one which he's got from the 5th, which is a 6-panel mosaic of the southern hemisphere, but he's just kept it in black and white. How about that?
Oh, nice contrast.
Yeah.
This is probably why he left it like he did.
Yeah. Another winner, Kev.
Fantastic, yeah. That's got everything, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the filaments, the flares and the prominences.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah, because you could see
Right.
this on the
Oh,
sort of like the 5
sorry.
o'clock, around the 5 o'clock mark. There's that dark mark there. You could actually see it on yours, Roger.
Yeah.
Just underneath there, you could see the formation of whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, one
So-
of the filaments was measured at 500,000 kilometers.
Yeah, they're huge, aren't they?
Absolutely ginormous. So unfortunately, we can't quite.
How
see
much
it
do
right
these
there, but
solar spacecraft we send up cost to get images?
Yeah, exactly.
This-
Send Kev.
yeah, absolutely. He's damn good.
Put in
And
the
we've
word
got a couple of Milky Way images from. Well, we've got this one from Lee, which is over at Dennerball in Cornwall, with his Canon and Samyang.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just wishing that it was more astronomical darkness, but he
Yes.
still picked the details up.
That's lovely.
Very nice. And something from Lee, which he doesn't usually do, his once a year solar image, because that's the only day that he gets to see it through the mist and the fog. And this was his entry into the solar
okay.
imaging. And he's still
That's
got quite a lot of
Yeah.
detail. Quite a lot
good.
of spots
Really?
on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic
so,
definition.
yeah, he's done all
You
right
can see
there.
the umbra and penumbra around the spots. Lovely.
Yeah, see some details quite nicely. So well done, Lee.
Roger, would you mind going back to the Milky Way image again? The last one. Yeah, I'm just thinking the darkness of the sky, that could be adjusted with levels
I know.
in Photoshop or whatever you want to use. It's quite that should come out quite well doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't want to mess about with it.
Yeah.
No,
No. You shouldn't. You shouldn't mess about with other people's photos. No, Roger.
No, you don't want to do that.
I wasn't on about that.
But
No,
also,
anyway.
I like mine sort of like more natural. I like to sort of like try make sure I photograph what I can see.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I actually go in and do any messing about. The only time you got to do some messing about if you're going onto Facebook, because the algorithm messes about with the pictures and they always come out too dark. So,
Yeah, you need them a certain size, otherwise they just get messed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what we have for this week.
Yep.
So we did all right there.
Super.
Brilliant.
Yes, well done.
jobs are good.
There we are. All right then. So next on the agenda then, I think what we'll do first of all, gentlemen, would you like to do your obituaries now?
Well, if I can load it, because that's what happened just a second ago. Because they have to go through scene and that. So if I put it up, and then
before you do that, let's just set the scene, as it were. Space exploration lost two giant figures this week, unfortunately. We lost the astronaut Bill Anders at the age of 90, who unfortunately died in a plane crash. And we lost Ed Stone, who for many people was the public face, if you like, of the Voyager probes, Voyager 1 and 2. Worked for JPL for how long, Lou? I mean, it was decades and decades.
Well, he was director of JPL for 10 years. But I think he was there in various capacities, including chief scientist for Voyager for perhaps 40. 40
years, amazing. And when I think back to all the TV coverage of the Voyagers in the late 70s and early 80s, it was always Ed Stone, brilliantly informing the public what was going on in his inimitable way. He did have a gift for simplifying complex concepts and telling the public in very clear, plain language what was going on, and his enthusiasm for that was infectious. And if you've ever seen the wonderful Irish film The Farthest, then which is if you haven't seen The Farthest, do check it out, because it's the story of the Voyagers, and he features a lot in that, and still, even at a fairly mature age, should we say, still able to recount everything that happened in very, very clear language. But Lou, would you like to talk about him first, and then we'll go over to Daz?
Yeah, let's do that. Pull up my presentation. There we go. So as Andy was saying, we got some very sad news for the planetary science community, and indeed for the entire science community today. It was reported that Ed Stone has passed away. He was 88 years old, and built his career on cutting edge science and planetary exploration. He was not only a remarkable scientist, but a remarkable manager, which we'll talk about in a minute, and just a wonderful human being. So the science community has lost a real hero, almost a legend, I would say, in Ed Stone. Ed was director of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for 10 years. Here we see a picture of JPL nestled into the mountains of Pasadena, California. And for those of you who follow NASA, you know that each field center has its own emphasis, or what we call center of excellence. And JPL is the Planetary Science Center of Excellence. So many of the planetary missions are managed, if not built and operated through Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Voyager spacecraft are certainly part of that, but during Ed Stone's reign, the Cassini mission, as well as Galileo's 5-year orbital mission of Jupiter, and Mars probes were launched, so really reaching out into deep space. Just absolutely every mission rewriting the textbooks of what we know about our tiny planetary community. We just found out today that he had passed. In fact, just this afternoon. So I kind of scurried about to find historical pictures and reaccountments of Ed. And here we see a picture of Ed. Now, Ed is, can you see my cursor?
No.
Okay. In the front row, second from the left, with a dark hair, kind of facing a bit sideways. Okay. So that's Ed Stone. And a number of these gentlemen were the principal investigators for the instruments, for the 11 science instruments, and of course other spacecraft systems on Voyager. And it's an older picture, right? This is a picture from the 1970s. And so it's a little hard for me to recognize all the faces, but two people to the right of Ed, a small gentleman with white hair, and I believe that he was the principal investigator for the Voyager infrared instrument, Dr. Rudy Honnell, who was a giant in the field of his own right, having pioneered the techniques that we use today around planetary interferometry. So all these gentlemen played key roles in the Voyager mission. This is a picture of Ed when he was awarded by the American Astronomical Society a Lifetime Achievement Award. This was a picture from, I don't remember the date, in either event. Well into his career and well-deserved. His science, his management touched every aspect of planetary science for over 5 decades. So this was a well-deserved award for Ed. Ed is here in the middle with a dark gray suit. This is another rather old picture gathered around a model of the Voyager spacecraft, showing its magnetometer boom and its RTG power source, and all of the, as well as the on the left, the scan platform. So let's see. So I wanted to say that the gentleman on the left was Lonnie Lane. If that is true, then he was the principal investigator for the photopolarimetry experiment, which was able to look back through the rings of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune at starlight and see very intricate detail in the rings. Of course, the first ever really seen at any type of resolution. So Ed not only was the director of JPL and the project scientist for Voyager, but he became the face of planetary science every time we had a planetary encounter from the Voyagers 1 and 2 spacecraft. He was on camera more than you can imagine. Here he is at a press conference. Of course, during encounter periods, and I was on the Voyager infrared team back then, and we were out at JPL. And as we're about plus or minus 2 weeks from each planetary closest approach, there would be tremendous activity. And every single morning and at times in afternoon, we would have press conferences. Here are the new findings in the last 24 hours, or perhaps the last 12 hours. And so here we see Ed Stone in the center, Robert Parks, who's the Voyager project manager at the time, on the left, and Brad Smith, of course, from the imaging science team. And it was the imaging team that got all the press. Mm-hmm. All of the squiggles and spectral features from magnetometers and ultraviolet spectrometers and so on. Okay, very interesting. But of course, everybody wanted to see the beautiful, beautiful images that Voyager sent back. And here we have the press just interviewing Ed a little more directly. He, I think he probably spent more time on camera than off camera, certainly during those time periods.
Yes, he was always on television when I was young.
Yeah. Just kind of an iconic figure.
As Carl Sagan.
As Carl Sagan. I'm sure they met, by the way. So here we see Ed, who's the gentleman in the foreground, holding the picture, which is one of the first highest resolution images of Triton, Neptune's largest moon, Triton. And this is hot off the presses as the image came back from the Voyager narrow angle imaging system. And this picture is what happened every single day at JPL. New findings were being made, new images of things that we had only seen as points of light, and in some cases, it didn't even know existed, were coming to light every day. And so you'd have people in these rooms as the images are coming down, gathering around the images or the spectra or the magnetometer readings or whatever it is, getting the first glimpses of what these bodies looked like and what they were made of, and the role that they played in the solar system. So it was a very, very exciting time. And I want to say, so I mentioned that Ed was project scientist. And so there are 11 instruments on the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft. They're not all operating now because many of them aren't useful now that we've passed Neptune, but there were. And so you had 11 science teams who'd worked there, who just worked until they dropped to come up with the idea for these instruments, compete them, getting the money for them, building them to power and weights and resolution specs and all of that, getting all of that accepted and launched. These were their swan songs in many cases, their chief life achievements, and they wanted their time to observe the moon or the atmosphere or the rings or the magnetic field or whatever it was. So Ed had a very difficult job helping them to work it out. Who gets to point the scan platform this time? What should the orientation of the spacecraft be at this time? And get everybody's needs met so that he maximized the science coming from Voyager. And he did that masterfully. It was a very difficult job. And he just, he was a wizard at this. So we owe a lot of the science that we got, certainly to the instrument teams and the scientists around the world that received the data and analyzed it, but also to Ed Stone, who very cleverly and gently and yet definitely worked out the observing sequences to maximize the science that we take for granted today.
Indeed.
So I think this is definitely his legacy. He had so many roles to play. He worked on the Parker Solar Probe mission, by the way. In the last few years, he was involved in the development of the TMT, the 30-meter telescope that is still in some stage of being built on Mauna Kea. He just had his hands in so many pieces of space exploration. He was on a number of gold medal commissions supporting the planetary and heliophysics exploration at NASA headquarters. And of course, now the Voyager missions have transitioned from planetary missions to heliophysics missions. So he really has a claim to fame in both areas. So a sad day in planetary science, a sad day for space exploration. Ed Stone has passed.
R.I.P. Mr. Stone, and thank you so much. And don't forget that the Voyagers are humans' first interstellar spacecraft. So that's part of his legacy as well. He shall be forever associated with our first interstellar spacecraft, which is quite an achievement, really.
Yeah.
He felt that was his legacy, and I'm sure he would be pleased to know they're still going on. Voyager 1 is now returning science data, at least from 2 instruments, and the rest planned very soon. And so we're very hopeful that those spacecraft will keep operating until their 50th anniversary in 2027. And I'm sure we will be remembering Ed Stone then as well for his achievements.
Oh, but what a pity there's nothing actually on the spacecraft to commemorate him.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice legacy as well. But
next spacecraft.
Next one, yes. Perhaps, he might even have a spacecraft or an observatory or something named after him. I'd be very surprised if he didn't, given his impact on space exploration.
Yeah, like the Parker probe,
Yeah, absolutely.
Person,
and the James Webb as well, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, thank you for that, Lou.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just get rid of that. Okay, so moving on. Sorry, I nearly fell off my chair there. And I haven't had a drop all day. So, as I said earlier, we lost another giant this week, who Daz is now going to tell us about.
Yeah, I got to. It was me who interrupted Roger earlier, I'm afraid.
That's all right. It doesn't look like he was particularly perturbed by it.
No, he's really stony faced, isn't he?
Well, as we know in Sparkford, time stands still. So So
Yeah, right.
So there we are. Oh, Lou's got his Voyager cap on.
Yep. Yeah. In tribute.
In tribute to Ed Stone. Yes. Lou, have you seen the film The Farthest?
No, I haven't, but I'm putting it on my list.
Oh, it's won a few awards, and it was quite surprising for quite a small film company in Ireland to make this amazing film about the Voyagers. It's the best one I've ever seen. Put it like that.
Wow.
And I can send you a link to it, Lou.
I have a list of movies that I really like. I'm putting it on the list even before I see it. That's how much I trust you.
Ah, you should know me. I only ever give you good stuff. Okay, so we lost astronaut William Bill Anders this week, sadly in a plane crash at the age of 90. So, Daz, tell us a little about Bill Anders.
Well, basically, I thought we were only just going to do short tributes to them, and I'm just going to read out this tribute to Bill. Of course, he was one of the Apollo astronauts. He was Apollo 8, probably most famous for a photograph that he took. And then once we've actually looked at this, I will have to rechange my screen again because I've got a short video which actually shows the drama that actually went on to try and catch that that moment in time. It is actually from a pretty new issue of this of the Apollo 8 mission, and what the people at NASA have done is they've actually used the lunar orbiter and the photographs that's taken, and they've literally timed it precisely with the actual drama of the recording that happened when the event was actually happening. Well, of course, we all know that Apollo 8 was basically a dress rehearsal. They went round the moon, and they were taking basically photographs left, right, and center. But they weren't going to land there. And it's probably the nearest that Tom Hanks actually got to landing on the moon, because of course he later went on to play Jim Lovell in Apollo 13. So it was just but it's a sad state of affairs. He died very recently in tragic circumstances. And I'll just read this obituary that I found for him. It basically says, on Christmas Eve in 1968, William Anders, aboard the Apollo 8 spacecraft, turned his camera towards Earth and captured a photo that humans, I've lost my place now, turned his camera towards Earth and captured a photo that showed humans in a new perspective. They called this photograph Earthrise, and there it is. They called it Earthrise. Earthrise. Anders was killed on Friday, last Friday, when a plane he was piloting alone crashed into the waters off the San Juan Islands in Washington State. He was 90 years old. Anders' photo helped people realize how small and fragile our planet appears from a space-based perspective. The photo helped spur the environmental movement, which continues to today. NASA Administrator and former Senator Bill Nelson said, Anders traveled to the threshold of the moon and helped all of us see something else, ourselves. So I'd just like to stop that now from sharing. So that was it's a very sad moment. I mean, we're losing these Apollo astronauts. It won't be long before we'll have no one actually surviving who actually went to the moon. Of course, we've got Buzz Aldrin. He'll live forever. He's like Bill Wyman. He'll go on and on and on. So what I want to do now is I just want to get rid of this, stop sharing this one. And then what I want to do is I'm going to do the same again, if I may. Click there, and I will play this clip for you. It's as I said, it's from a longer extract, And we'll put in the link. You can actually watch the whole thing. It's a very fascinating story. So if I just play this, and then you'll be able to see what
turns.
All right, we're gonna roll. Ready? Set. The impact crater with at just prior to the subsolar point on the south side, and the floor of it nearly even, except there is one dark hole. But I couldn't get a quick enough look at it to see if it might be anything volcanic. Oh my God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty. Hey, don't take that, it's not scheduled. You got a color film, Jim? Hand me a roll of color quick. Oh man, that's great. Where is it? Quick. Down here? Just grab me a color. A color exterior. There you go. Got one? Yeah, I'm looking for one. C368. Anything, quick. Here. Got it. We missed it. Hey, I've got it right here. Let me get up this a lot clearer. Bill, I got it framed. It's very clear right here. You got it? Yep. Take several of them. Here, give it to me. Hey, man, let's get the right setting here. Just calm down, Bubble. Well, I got it right. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. 250 at F11. Now there's the explosion. I did. I took two up there. You sure you got it now? Yeah, it'll come up again.
Well, there you are. And that's how it was done. Don't forget that Bill Anders said when that photograph became famous, and lots of people quite rightly believed that it was really the start of the whole environmental movement. That it took a photograph taken from the moon of the Earth to make people realize how fragile this little planet is. And Anders said, we went so far to explore the moon, and what we found was ourselves, which was very true. And it's difficult to remember now, and it's not difficult to remember, it's difficult to understand how that photo changed people's attitudes towards our planet. Not everybody, obviously. But a lot of people sort of woke up and saw our beautiful blue planet hanging in space above the moon. And it really did make them realize that the Earth is just a speck and we need to look after it. So you can trace the beginnings, perhaps, of environmentalism back to that photo, for which, of course, the world will always be grateful to Bill Anders for giving us.
And can I say as well, with that photo, back then we only had film. It was taken on a Hasselblad handheld camera, medium format film, and they only had obviously different rolls of film, as you could hear in the commentary. And to actually get a decent picture, and like you said, it's taking a couple of exposures to get it right. These days we take it for granted that cameras are easy to use. Anyone can take a photograph. But back then there was nothing like that, and they were in the depths of space as well. and it's just amazing that they got photos back like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 'Cause
Interestingly, this was the second picture of the Earth from lunar orbit ever taken. The first is a rather grainy black and white image taken from a Soviet lunar orbiter. A little bit, I don't remember the date, and it is the Earth, and that's fine. It's good, but it doesn't have the resolution, and I guess perhaps it doesn't have the story around it. That the Apollo.
But wasn't there Apollo 17? They took the image called the Blue Marble.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
And
right.
I also noticed that Ian's actually mentioned the those who should not be spoken about, flat earthers, take note of Earthrise.
Yeah.
The Blue Marble has been used because an image was used where when it was printed, it's only on one image. When it was printed, something went wrong with the printing, and the Red Sea, the middle of it, slipped to one side. So it looked like there was a landmass halfway through the Red Sea.
Oh, right.
And of course, the flat earthers jumped on that, saying that proves that this is false. All these images are false. The fact that there's hundreds and thousands of the original image out there, this one had the one thing on there, and they said, "Oh, it proves that it was falsified." But he kept on about the Red Sea. But what he didn't look at was the areas to either side, and you could see where geographic marks had actually would line up if you just moved it across. Obviously, something had slipped in the printing of that image. And even the sea that was on the right hand side, you could see was also pushed in, but he wouldn't mention that because that would then prove that that strip had actually moved across. So yeah, that was just something about Blue Marble. So yeah. Just reminded me that did. So sorry, I was bad.
Okay, right. Well, there we are. There are 2 tributes tonight to Ed Stone and Bill Anders. Rest in peace, both, and thank you for what you did. We're going to stay with the theme of space exploration now, because last week we had 2 pretty major space launches. We had finally the launch of the Boeing Starliner, which we've been talking about for so long. We'd like to thank everybody who watched our live coverage last week. Very kind of you. We had quite a good audience, considering it was for the Starship, the second launch, considering it was the middle of the day. As regards the Starliner, we know that it launched with a helium leak, but not long after that, they discovered 2 further helium leaks in the Starliner. And nothing to be alarmed about. But as it approached the International Space Station before docking, there were some problems with the thrusters, which were eventually overcome. And they performed a safe docking. The astronauts are now staying on the ISS. Their return has been delayed by a few days to give them a chance to check out the Starliner a bit more. I think they're also going to be doing a spacewalk, which I think is on Thursday, if I remember correctly. But basically, the docking went okay. The astronauts are safe, and they return on the 18th of June. So we shall try and cover that return and splashdown if we possibly can. Also, last week, yes, Daz.
Oh no, what I was just going to say is that when they discovered because as we said, we know there was one leak going on, and it was from this manifold, 2 plates like that with a rubber seal, and there was a leak from there, and they thought they had plenty of helium. It wasn't a problem because of the rate of the leak. Then, as you said, they found another 2 leaks after the launch, about a few hours after the launch, again from both of these to 2 more of these manifolds. There's 4 of them. So there seems to be definitely a problem with this manifold in the sealing around them. But also, while they've been testing, they found a 4th leak actually while it's with the International Space Station. And what it is because they've got all 4 of these manifolds leaking, they're thinking, well, we're just going to check everything, make sure we can get everyone back safe. And that, but I did understand what they did with the 2 that they found is they were able to switch these the pumps off that goes anything going through these manifolds. But I read at the time that they lost 6 thrusters by doing that. Now I'm assuming once they open them up again, they get those 6 thrusters back. But as you said, as they approached the International Space Station, it had to stop and stay stationary while they looked, because they lost 5 thrusters, weren't working. But working through it, because it actually docked an hour late.
Yes. Right.
So what they managed to do is they managed to get 4 of the 5 working again.
But Daz, this was a repetition, if you remember, of the uncrewed mission to the ISS, where they also had thruster problems on approach to the ISS.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. So they obviously have a problem with the thrusters that they haven't solved. Anyway, moving on, we had last Thursday the launch of the SpaceX Starship IFT-4, the Integrated Flight Test 4. The primary objective of this test was to return both the booster and the Starship to the Earth for soft landings in the ocean. And unbelievably, it worked. And both the booster and the Starship did indeed return safely, although safely might not be the correct word in regard to the Starship. But SpaceX achieved everything on that mission that they set out to accomplish. Now, I've put together a short video of the highlights, but just let me talk you through what actually happened. Very briefly, the booster and the Starship separated absolutely perfectly. The booster performed the boost back maneuver, flipping over, orienting itself, coming down through the atmosphere, and it actually landed next to a virtual tower and a virtual launch tower in the ocean, because SpaceX needed to test how accurately and with what precision they could land the booster, because on the next flight, IFT-5, they actually plan to return the booster back to the launch tower and land it and catch it with the chopsticks, those incredible large mechanical arms, which will then lower the booster to the ground. And they will need to do this to be able to reuse the booster and have a fast turnaround. So they created, in the mind of the computer of the booster, this virtual launch tower in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and apparently the precision was absolutely spot on. So that was great. When the Starship came back through the atmosphere, the Starship has weak points around its flaps, if you like, its fins, and these are the hinges controlling the up and down movement of the flaps, because they are active. They do steer the vehicle, and hot plasma got into the hinges, which has always been known as a weak point, and started to eat away at the forward flap. Now, there was a camera mounted next to the forward flap, so you could see the forward flap just basically being eaten away by this blast of hot plasma. We don't know what happened to the other flaps. We presume it was the same. So we know that there is a problem with that. We could also see tiles falling off the heat shield as it descended through the atmosphere. SpaceX already announced a correcting measure for that on the next flight, which will be they're going to put an extra layer of thermal insulation underneath the tiles, which hopefully will stay intact should any tiles actually fall off. But I won't bore you with any more details. I'll just play the video. So this is the highlight, and I think Daz and Michael, I mean, you and Roger, you'll agree with me. It was a phenomenal sight, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because they've said already they had plans for the flaps to be moved to the leeward side of the ship, so they'll be tucked away a little bit back further. But I still think the any gap between because it did concern me before. It had crossed my mind before about if you've got a hinge, there's got to be a gap,
Yeah,
because you've got to have things.
absolutely.
So they were already thinking about that, moving it backwards. So hopefully they can resolve that.
Let's watch the highlights reel that I put together.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. We have this off. Vehicle is pitching downrange. Booster engine cut off. Ship ignition. Stage separation confirmed.
Boost back burn start up.
Excitement. So right here, this is our view of the jettisoned hot stage. As we mentioned, this is a temporary fix to help reduce the weight of the booster, the super heavy booster. Future iterations will have a lighter weight integrated hot stage structure that won't need to be jettisoned.
Starship is slowing to entry attitude.
So there you have it. So that's the highlights of that mission.
That was fantastic.
So I'm just trying to get rid of this actually. So what did you think, guys?
Yeah.
It was absolutely
I'm looking forward to the chopstick scene action next year, maybe.
Just a matter of interest, do any of you know how much that hot staging ring actually weighs?
Oh, no.
It's about, I would guess, about 10 tons, something like that.
Right, you're spot on. So that is a lot of weight that they.
I know my rings.
Yeah, that is a lot of weight that they actually ejected off of that thing. I didn't realise it was that. I knew it was heavy because it's quite a substantial thing, and they've already designed new hot staging rings to make them strong, but also lose a lot of weight on them. So they've already developed those. They were already in the planning, apparently. What we did also notice, because we saw the tiles burning and stuff like that, but SpaceX did say they were going to bring it in at an angle to get the maximum heat they could into those tiles. They wanted to see how they were going to respond. And I did see actually a photograph of some of the tiles that they've recovered. And they're a bit of a mess, to be quite honest. But there was also, if you remember, before the launch, we kept saying there's 3 tiles missing.
That was intentional.
But it was intentional in the end. In fact, there was tiles there. So some of them had tiles, 2 of them had tiles in, but they were thinner and different material with sensors underneath them because they tested new material. But they had loads of sensors underneath those tiles where we thought there were gaps. Because that's where they were going to get all their data from, and they've got mega data now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I was hoping they'd be able to recover the Starship, because I'd love to see the state of it all together. Those fins were absolutely trashed, but they still worked.
Well, I think that the telemetry, as you said, will tell them pretty much what condition it was in. And it would have been nice to have seen it. It really would.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think we were going to get the booster footage that we did.
Yeah.
And apparently that footage of the booster splashing down, that was taken from a buoy. BUOY, that is.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, bobbing around, but minding its own business.
Boy in the sea bobbing around.
Or you could say
as well.
Or you could say a buoy.
It's boy. It's got to be boy. Yeah. So I think the Americans are sensible calling it buoy because it avoids confusion. So anyway, Elon Musk said that the payload for this mission was the data. It's worrying because. It's a little bit worrying because obviously there's a long road ahead yet before that can be classed as a reusable spacecraft that, as Elon wants, can return to the Earth, get refueled and off again in a couple of hours. There's a long road ahead.
Yeah.
And, I was also reading this week that once the Star Factory at Boca Chica is online, they will eventually be turning out one Starship a day.
Wow.
So that is...
We will see.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Really?
But Lou, I think you have to remember that everything SpaceX have ever said they would do, they have done.
Yeah.
They take a little bit longer.
Maybe they meant the little ones.
Yes, that's right. Maybe they meant the little toy ones.
Yeah, they lose it. Going back to Starliner, when it comes back, do you think there'll be a full investigation into what these leaks are? Because I can't see how they're going to certify this until this is totally resolved. Do you think they might make them do another test flight? If they do, it'll be at Boeing's cost.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But first of all, we've got to get these people back safely.
I think maybe they'll do another uncrewed flight just to test the hardware.
Yeah, I think they've got to. I can't see how they can just turn around and say, "Well, we're going to certify it."
No.
Because, like I said, going back to these leaks, they're not sure what's causing them, and they think some of it might even be to do with telemetry and things like that. But there's definitely something going on. But yeah, we'll wait and see when it comes back. Hopefully, we'll get everyone back. Everyone will be fine, hunky dory, and then we can have a look at this.
Aren't the thrusters made by Rocketdyne, if I remember rightly?
Oh.
I think they are. Yes. That rings a bell. But as I said, there was that story about the valve company where they sued them because. Boeing pinched the design, and they were added to the Starliner. And even though they won, it was intellectual property, it was theft. And they designed their own, but they said when they designed these valves, they weren't designed for what they're supposed to be doing. Now, whether this has got anything to do with it, I don't know. But it has to be sorted out.
Time will tell. Roger, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here.
He's just sleeping.
I've seen Medusa.
Oh, okay then.
All right. Oh, okay.
I
just want to make sure you were still with us, even though
I'm still here.
It'd be one of the statues you see in the street, isn't it, where they don't move?
I'd like to introduce you to Roger, our resident ventriloquist.
Yeah, you've nailed it.
Just going back to Mr. Anders, apparently there is a video clip of the fatal crash.
Oh,
is there? I haven't seen that.
I don't think
he was in a very steep dive and he didn't quite pull out of it, and it was a ball of flames immediately on impact. So
I read a story he did a loop and didn't pull out of it.
It was a very steep dive anyway.
Well, the thing is, at the end of the
Anyway.
day, he died doing what he liked best, loved best. I mean, he was a test pilot. He was an astronaut. They're all pilots, and yeah. So I mean, flying at 90, that's an achievement in itself.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't climb into the bloody plane.
And they were that generation of gung ho.
Yeah.
You know, they would have laughed at a tiny little thing like a helium loop.
They were the right stuff.
Yeah, they were the right stuff. We won't see their like again.
No. But also on that, it would be nice to see if we have an Apollo astronaut still alive when Artemis 2 gets around the moon.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
It really would. Yeah, there we are then. All right, are we done for today, guys? I think that's everything.
It certainly seems like it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll wrap things up here. Firstly, we'd like to say thank you to our viewers. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We do appreciate it, and it really does help us. If you could remember to like the video when it's published, then that would be great, and leave a comment as well. That would be even better, because then we will get noticed by the YouTube algorithm, and we will get more people watching.
Yeah, sorry about that, Andy. I laughed because I just had a notification. It came up. Obviously, it's some sort of medical thing. It says, "How do people wake up from comas?" And I thought, were they talking about our viewers? It just came out, and I thought, what?
Well, Roger looks like he's already in one.
He's been cryogenically frozen.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Andy. Sorry.
Yeah, you're lucky that the picture froze with you looking like that, Roger. Because whenever the picture freezes on me, I look like something from the Time Machine, living underground. So
the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I look like a troglodyte or a Morlock. So,
Morlock. So
there we are. Oh, hang on. Whoop.
No, that didn't work.
No.
Really?
Okay.
Sorry, Roger. Is it your camera, do you think?
I don't know what's happened. It's been all right until I've come on as an admin. So
I think he's in.
I mean, it was all right. I mean, it was all right before we started, wasn't it, Daz?
Yeah. Of course, it changed due to what was it? It changed to Firefox. Because we all run through Chrome. But
I was running through Chrome, and now I'm on Safari. So
Safari, sorry, Safari. So I'm wondering whether that could be
on Safari.
a problem.
Yeah, gone rogue with the elephant gun.
Bag a lion or two for us, will you?
Yeah, all right.
Nice.
Only kidding. I wouldn't dream of hurting lions.
No.
No.
There we are. All right. So thank you very much for being here, and we'll be back at the same time next week with more fun and frolics from the universe. Next week, oh yes, almost forgot. Next week it's quiz night.
Hey.
So bring your thinking caps along, because we're going to have a Space Oddities astronomy and sci-fi quiz next week. We haven't had one in a while, and as I think I said a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, the viewing figures weren't great for the quiz, but we're going to do it for you, our viewers, because you're the people that count.
You can only blame yourselves. You did ask.
Yeah, that's right. And it was requested that we do another quiz. So next week, bring paper and pen and your thinking caps, and we might even offer a prize, guys. Do you think that's we'll offer a prize. We'll work a prize out before then. Keep your eye on the channel and the Facebook page. We'll announce it on the Facebook page, and we'll tell you what the prize is there. But please join us for the quiz. It's usually a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. Except when Roger's doing it, when it's deathly serious and people can.
In fact, the first prize can be a screenshot of a frozen Roger.
There we are. You can have that framed. There we are.
Oh, cheeky!
Bring your calculators in case you have to derive anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So quiz night next week.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to bringing that to you, and we hope you look forward to taking part. But we will offer a prize, so keep your eye on the Facebook page, and you can read all about it there. So, guys, thank you for being here. I'd like to thank Daz and Lou and Michael and Frozen Roger and all you out there for watching. And we will see you at the same time next week. And Derek, as if we would let Roger do the questions. Given his
don't they have to bring a slide rule then?
Have you still got a slide rule?
What's a slide
Yeah.
rule?
Yeah. I lost mine somewhere along the way. I used to love that slide rule. I never understood how it worked, but I did like it.
I know what a slide rule is.
Oh, look.
Oh.
How it works.
Lewis whipped his slide rule out. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
Is that what we
Get
say?
an
We
impression
don't
of how
say
it
that
works,
anymore.
Do you ever actually use it, Lou?
No.
No surprise there.
Do you know how to use it, Lou?
It's extendable. It's a good back scratcher.
Yeah.
There's an old story about Robert Goddard would pay his small staff who were building rockets with him, and he'd pay them a different amount every week because he used a slide rule to calculate.
Oh dear.
Was it a logarithmic scale? Was it?
I'm sure that's right.
Yeah. All right, guys. Quiz night next week. Be here, please.
Okay.
And we'll have some fun. So from all of us at Space Oddities, thanks again. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for everything. And we do appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. So from all of us at Space Oddities, have a fantastic week, an even better weekend, and good evening.